Major League Journeymen. We're back, and Gordo kind of feels weird me introing the pod 2 weeks in a row. Gargan's on vacation. We
You're
don't know
just
where he
not
is.
committing. You're not committing to it, Dax. You got
Okay,
to
hold on. Let
really
me try
go
again.
for
Let
it.
me try
So
again.
one more
'Cause
time. One more
let me
time.
try again because this is a special pod. All right. Major League Journeymen.
There we
We're
go.
back.
There we
All
go.
right, we're back.
Get him
And
excited, dude.
for
We got
those
a great guest.
we have the best guest, and people should be excited. And you probably won't need my voice to get excited about who we have on the pod right now. A true legend of I think North American soccer. Just a guy who I've had the pleasure of getting to know very well this year. For those watching on YouTube, you can see him on your screen right now, Mr. Giovanni Savarese. Such a pleasure to have you on, Gio. Just for people that don't know, I get the pleasure every weekend to fly up to Stamford, Connecticut, and cover Major League Soccer for MLS and Apple TV. And I had heard stories. I had met Gio before. Gio's obviously a longtime coach of the Portland Timbers, longtime coach of the New York Cosmos, where we had some good battles. But I had just heard nonstop, this is one of the classiest guys you're ever going to meet, get to know. And it's just it's exceeded expectations, Gordo. Just being able to be around Gio every day. First of all, one of the classiest individuals you'll meet. So well dressed. Every time I put on my suit and I stand next to him, I feel like I need to give myself 10, 15 yards because it's just so much style and heat coming from this guy. I mean, he's unreal. Gio, obviously, been a pleasure to get to know you. Before we get started, Gio, can you just kind of run us through what's going on in the background? What's going on behind you over there? What jersey is that?
First of all, thank you so much for that introduction. It's great. It's great to be with you. Alan, good to see you again. Samantha, it's been a little, long that we haven't catch up. So it's great to see you. And the jersey in the back is actually a Pelé jersey. It's one of the real ones. One of the games that he played.
Wow.
And there's so much history in that shirt. I could tell you a lot of stories about it, but great to be in the podcast with you guys and be able to talk about soccer.
Wow.
How did you get that jersey? Did you meet Pele? Did you play against him? Did you play with him?
That jersey is my friend's jersey,
Okay.
which I am right now in his office. And his father was my coach in college, and Arno Ramirez. And Arno was a very good friend. I mean, he went to do clinics worldwide in Japan and different places with Pelé. And he got to know him really well. I had the pleasure to get to know Pelé as well during my time with the Cosmos. So I have a similar jersey in my office as well. But it's just everything that you have that has to do with Pelé is just class, and this is one of them.
Yeah, I
Hey,
mean, that's incredible.
Gio, let me ask you a question. I'll put you on the spot. Who is your favorite all-time player, and what is the best jersey you ever exchanged with somebody in your career?
Oh, that is a tough one. I mean,
Tough.
You're gonna get a lot of tough
tough.
ones today.
So listen, I am one that more than saying who's the best, I have enjoyed the top players, and I think the four players when you talk to the big time players, and have the pleasure to have had conversations with, Roberto Donadoni and many other great players, they always go back and they tell you, Pelé, Maradona, Messi, and Ronaldo. Ronaldo in his time, and I'm talking about
R9.
Brazilian Ronaldo.
Yes.
R9. Yeah. The
Yes,
real Ronaldo.
the real Ronaldo. I mean, Cristiano's done some phenomenal things, but I think these four players, when you talk to people, to ex-players, just the quality has been amazing. And for me, as being a Napoli fan since I was a little kid, Maradona has been, the one that has brought us so much happiness to Napoli fan that of course we have so many great memories with him.
Gio, I want to start there because for people that may not know your background, maybe they know you from just being in MLS, maybe they know you as, a MetroStars legend, New England Revolution, and then your time coaching with the Cosmos or the Portland Timbers. But you're actually born and raised in Venezuela, and you moved to Italy when you were what were you, a teenager maybe?
I was 18 years old
You
when
were
I went to
18.
Italy.
So walk us through kind of your education through football. You know, you were brought up in South America and then you moved to Italy when you were 18 and obviously Napoli fan, you just mentioned it. Kind of walk us through how you were introduced to the beautiful game, maybe some favorite childhood memories, and then we'll get into your time a little bit later on in college soccer in the US and how you got there.
So definitely going quicker on the Alan last part of it, and I had a pleasure to be able to change it with Ronaldinho.
Oh,
One of the games that
oh,
Ah,
and for me that was a special one. So going back to Venezuela, Venezuela is interesting because it has always been viewed as a baseball country,
yeah.
but in the youth level, club schools, there's a huge amount of players, the leagues, and we play a lot of soccer in Venezuela, and we had the pleasure to. People love. We had a lot of immigrants, so we had a lot of. We watch every league, the German league, the Italian league, anything from Europe, South America. We had the pleasure to have the opportunity to see it. And I grew up basically watching mostly Italian soccer with my father, making sure that I watch it on TV, but the radio was in Italian, commentating.
really?
Ah.
Really?
That's how you learn
So
to speak.
exactly. So a little bit, that's how I learned how to speak Italian, with my family also in the house speaking Italian, going to see my grandmother in Italy. So I grew up basically watching Serie A, Serie B. So I know everything about every team, and I grew up there. And then when I went to Italy, of course, to play. At that time, you couldn't play professional. Once you went, even if you had an Italian, had a dual citizen, even though I was Italian as well, I couldn't play, in anything that was professional because you had to have 3 years of amateur at that time before
Mm.
you were able to play professional. So that was, the time that I went to Italy. But in Venezuela, I learned a lot. In my youth, my father always had the passion for the game. So he always introduced me to a lot of soccer. And the conversation every weekend was constantly about soccer, about our games, about
Yeah.
Europe, about Spain, and watching also our national team play at the time when I was young.
And Gio, one thing I didn't know about you, I want to get into your time in American soccer because you actually went to college in the US, I believe Long Island University, if I'm
Correct.
not mistaken. And after you graduated, you actually ended up joining the Long Island Rough Riders, which is like a legendary club from back in the day. And one thing that we have in common that I didn't know was that your coach at the time was Alfonso Mondello.
Correct.
And this is a guy who I know well because he worked when I was younger and he got a little bit older. He started working more with the U.S. youth national teams. And so I would be in national team camps and he would be my assistant coach for the under 16 national team, under 18 national team. And he had a really big impact on me as well and being able to connect and help me kind of put things together as a younger player. And so I just kind of want to walk through your time with the Long Island Rough Riders. I mean, you had some pretty unbelievable teammates back in the day. You played with Chris Armas on the Rough Riders, Tony Miola. I mean, going through
Jimmy
and
Rooney.
going through some of your experiences there, it would be great if you could just kind of walk us through your early years in trying to before Major League Soccer really got started up. Some good memories from Long Island.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's great because I did come to the United States because my parents always said, yes, you can play soccer, but you have to go to school. You have
Yeah,
to make sure that you got to get your degree. You will never know, especially coming from Venezuela, which we were not a football, country. The mentality was always, you have to go and get your degree. So I had an opportunity to come. I had people before me, Venezuelans that came here, that told me all the time, you should come, you should come. So I had two full scholarships to go to two colleges, and I had to make a decision: Boston University or Long Island University. And I fell in love with New York. So,
Yes.
so I said, you know what? Is it, for me to go to Boston? I love the city. I had family there, but something about New York just captivated me. It said, I think I'm gonna go to two universities here: the University of Long Island and the University of New York.
I
So
love
I
it.
decided to come to Long Island University, thanks to Arno Ramirez, I mentioned, who convinced me to come here. And then I participated 4 years in Long Island University, had a great experience, played basically, I think, every position on the field with him. And then when we finished, there was no Major League Soccer, so we had to figure out, am I
Yeah.
go back to play soccer in Venezuela? Am I going to Italy? What am I gonna do? And this USISL league just expanded to 3 teams in the New York and New Jersey area. Actually, it was 4 teams. So they had New York Fever, Long Island Rough Riders, New Jersey Dragons, and New Jersey. I can remember the other name right now. Oh, I can
Some
be
classic names.
classic names. So we were trying to figure out where are we gonna go to play. We have to try to figure it out. I went to a tryout with the Dragons. I tried in the Rough Riders, and Alfonso Mondelo said, you're gonna stay here, Gio. We're gonna have you. You're gonna be part of this project. And I had the fortune, as you mentioned, to be with so many great players, Chris Armas, so many Jim Rooney. At the end, Tony Meola as well. He played with us. So it was an amazing team. In the first year, we came third in the table in the whole nation. But
Yep.
the 95 year, we ended up winning the championship. And for me, it was a very important year because thanks to that season, I was able to make it and be selected to Major League Soccer in '96. We were champions. I was the MVP of the whole league. I scored
Yeah.
33 goals. It was a very, very good, year. And I think that was the key factor for me to have been taken by the MetroStars as one of the 4 foreigners of that year. And so my time in Rough Riders was very
I,
essential, and
I
especially with Alfonso Mondelo.
I love that. Just before Gordo hops in. I just have to say it's amazing. This is the Major League Journeyman podcast. Gio, Gordo is a journeyman through and through, and a striker as well. It's just a pleasure to have an actually fantastic striker on the pod for for once, like an
I remember
MVP,
Alan.
a
Alan
goal
was
scoring
great.
No,
extraordinaire. Like, listen, Gordo could have learned a lot from you, but I just
no.
got to say, man, Gordo, hop in.
I was not great, but I was serviceable. That was it. I was somebody that the coach could look to and make something happen from time to time.
Don't play it down, Alan. I remember I seen a lot of games. I was around, and you
Yeah.
score a lot of good goals. So
Hey,
don't take it away from you.
yeah. Hey, I appreciate that. Hey, do you remember what you were making in those days? What was your paycheck? What was your salary?
At that time, we had the ones that started and that were kind of solid, new players were
Yeah.
somewhere around 30,000,
Yeah,
30,
Yeah.
that's not bad.
30, yeah, so 30, 35,000 at that time. There were some others that were on 15,000. There were others that were less. And of
Yeah.
course, we had during that time, Roberto Donadoni and others that were on a different level.
Yeah.
The designated player before DPs came into the play.
Exactly, on a different level. But I think the biggest thing about that time was that the majority of the players were no guarantee on the contract.
Yeah.
Very
Very rare.
rare you were guaranteed. So you had to prove yourself every single practice, every single game. And for me, that I was a foreigner in the 4 slots that we had, it was even more pressure coming from Venezuela, even more that at that time, no one knew or thought that Venezuela was a soccer nation. So I had to make sure that I put myself in a good situation. So score goals were the way I thought that I could stay in my job. If I can
Yeah.
score goals, I'm essential, so I can stay here. And only until July 1st, your contract became, you know, uh, you know,
Guaranteed.
guaranteed. And
Yeah.
so I remember like the June 30th, so many players were cut from so many teams at that particular time that maybe the clubs didn't think that they were working. So it was a difficult time and you have to prove yourself. There was a lot of sacrifice. It wasn't easy, but that's how the league evolved.
Absolutely. I love that story, man, because we have to remember in this country who paved the way
The
for
pioneers.
players today, and what a sacrifice It was. We weren't making a ton of money. You weren't making a ton of money. There was not even a league. So it was just because you love it, the sport so much. And that's why you did it. It wasn't for the money. It wasn't for the fame because there wasn't a ton of fame. It was for the team. It was for because you grew up playing and having a dream of coming to America and doing all these things. And people should remember your generation and the generation before you who really made everything possible. So my follow-up is this. I'm very curious on your take. You were a coach in the league, not too long ago. And so you've seen the new generation of player. What is your advice? Because your parents, they were adamant. They said, you need to get your education, son. Like, this is important to us. I know you love soccer. I want you to get your education. Everything is going away from college soccer today. Would you advise kids to go play soccer in college, even though it's not
it's not necessarily the path anymore?
It's not necessarily the path anymore. What is your take on that?
I think it depends the player. I do see right now the reason why some players from the youth and the next pro, they don't need to go to college to play.
Yeah,
That doesn't mean that they shouldn't pay attention to become more educated, to continue maybe to do online,
sure.
education and things. I'm not talking about education. We're talking about playing, soccer, football in college. I think the gap has gotten, bigger.
Yeah,
Before it was a little bit closer. I think now it's a little bit bigger. The MLS has evolved a lot more. I do think that there's better youth, more coaches, more infrastructure. So I do see the path of some of the players, going directly from the youth of a team or playing USL or, next pro and then going into MLS. Not necessarily they need to go through the path of college. Whoever wants to do it, I still think that it's competitive. I still think that you learn a lot. I think sometimes, maybe some are not ready yet, and maybe they can do 1 year and then try to see if they can make it to pro. But I don't think that it's as used to be, our time that, that it was important to go through college to get a little bit of maturity.
sure.
You never know if it was going to work for you. So it is important for you to have your side job, ready.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I think now it's different because I do think that has become everything more professional. And if you have to make it, you have to dedicate more time into, doing it the right way on the field in order to progress, develop, and then be ready for, the professional level.
yeah.
Gio, did you ever have a side job? And
I
what
always
was
did,
it?
I always did little things, sell tickets for the Rough Riders. Like, you always had to do something a little bit side, to
Coaching.
make sure because it wasn't guaranteed that
Yeah.
you were going to make it. But and sometimes I'm going to tell you, sometimes we will go play with the Pancyprians, with the local teams that will pay you a little bit, in order
Yeah.
to play with them. And you had your 200, 300, $400 a weekend that definitely went a long way for the next week. So
I
that
love it. You
uh,
flirt with a couple other teams every now and then, just to see
two
how it
games on a
feels.
Saturday and one on a Sunday.
Yeah.
It's like the Wild West back then, man. I absolutely love it. But obviously, look, you started Major League Soccer, but Gordo rightly called you out for being a pioneer. You were drafted by the New York, New Jersey MetroStars at the time, 96, first year for Major League Soccer. Must have been an incredibly exciting time for you, but also maybe a little bit uncertain. No one really knew what Major League Soccer was going to be. You scored the first goal in MetroStars history, which is something I didn't know. That's amazing, considering I was there for 6 years. I probably should have known that. What are your fondest memories, or your best memories and best stories from the early days in Major League Soccer?
It was amazing to have some dreams come true at that particular time for me. I was already, I made it to the national team of Venezuela 17, so I had a lot of, dreams come true. But one of the things was to play as the first Venezuelan in the United States, and I at that particular time, I was hoping I went even to the draft that day. It was a weekend, Saturday and Sunday. I know, or during the week, I don't remember, but it was here in New York, the first draft 2 days. And I remember I wasn't selected the first day. And I was like, am I going to make it? Is somebody going to pick me up? And that was the first draft that only had 4 players guaranteed first in each club. And everybody just start selecting players. And I have to say, that a lot of off field during that time that we had to work so hard, like Tony and Peter Vermees and Tab Ramos, and these are legends. These are
Yeah.
guys that, and you said it, Alan, they play at that time with the national team for the love of the country, for the love of the game, and there was so much pressure to be able to make it. And once I got selected as the ninth spot of the New York, MetroStars, I remember there was already Roberto Donadoni there, and I watched him, with the national team with AC Milan for years,
Must have been an idol.
and an idol for me. And I'm like, oh,
Wow.
I'm going to play with this guy,
Yeah.
and so it's one of my dreams coming true to be able to play with such a high level player, and I don't want to disappoint him. So I need to
Yeah.
make sure, and this is one thing that I think happens with this type of player that we see in LAFC,
Yeah.
right now, that we see Vancouver with Mueller. I didn't want to disappoint him, so I will work as hard as I can. The way he respects me being next to him.
Yeah.
Yes.
And one
Yes.
thing, as I said, it was I have to score goals. Every pass that he's going to give me, I'm going to make something out of it.
Yeah.
And I became his roommate
Oh,
afterwards.
wow.
And so, and at the time, we wanted the league to succeed and we wanted the league to continue because we wanted to have a long career. So that's why now when we see the league and the growth of the league, we feel so, not only part of it, that we had a very important, influence in it, and we want the best for the league. And being with Donadoni at that time, I remember, and this is going to be a quick story. We
Love
used,
it.
we used to cook in a room. We used to cook pasta. So beside our bag, of traveler with our, clothing, we brought in a little kitchenette, some pots. He will bring the sauce. I will bring the mozzarella in the pasta, and
No
we'll
way.
cook in the room with some of the bread. So, we had to time it right between, practice, when we went, to
Yeah.
cities, and the time for lunch or dinner, and make sure that nobody knew that we're cooking in the room. So,
That's amazing. I would have hated to be your neighbor. I smell the onion and the garlic. Oh my
oh, it
God.
was phenomenal. You probably wouldn't want to come to our room.
Yeah.
Gio, I don't know if you've ever seen Goodfellas, but it's literally like the scene from Goodfellas, Gordo, when the Italians
Is
are
it?
all cooking in jail. They got someone. Gio's on the sausage, and Donadoni's on the pasta, and the sauce.
He
Exactly.
puts
So
it.
we had great meals, and we're ready to to practice and all that. And at that time, hotels were not at the level that they're now. Sometimes we had to go to some hotels that were not top, so we had to make sure that we had our stuff ready. And that was the start of Major League Soccer. So many different stories in the things that we did.
That's incredible, man.
That is incredible. I mean, I can't imagine. Did you guys speak in Italian to each other?
I had to.
He didn't speak English?
He spoke very, very minimum English. Sometimes I had to. Then he learned.
Yeah.
Afterwards, he learned, but he didn't speak much English. And I had to, translate him. And sometimes in practice, especially on my third year with Pereira, there were so many players from Brazil, from Italy, from the Latin countries. So I had to sometimes translate in Portuguese, in Italy, in Italian, in Spanish, to make sure that the communication from Pereira was delivered to some of the players. So and I'm proud to have had that participation in the teams as well.
That brings back a lot of memories for me. I had the opportunity to play with some pretty big time players as well. Gerard, Beckham, Schweinsteiger, a lot of these guys. And some of my favorite memories is just sitting at the in the rooms or in between games and practices and just listening to some of these stories of these, of their experience in European football at the top level. And I'm sure he shared some pretty cool stories with you as well. And as a kid, you're just like, oh my gosh, this is something I can't even imagine, you know.
Exactly. You were there, and that's how we were connected with them. I remember Branco, talking about when he won the World Cup
Yes.
in the United States. He came to play with the MetroStars, and I would sit down with Donadoni, with Branco, with Caricola, and just like listen,
Yeah.
listen to their stories and the funny things and the players that they respected, and just building knowledge, and
Soak it
I
in.
was so in love with the game,
Yeah.
and listen to that level. It was just surreal and amazing, and that's why I felt like I need to work so hard to be respected by these players, and that I can play at a level that at least they feel that they can participate with us,
Of course.
and that was always in our mind.
I think that's the one underrated thing about signing and playing with these legends, especially in Major League Soccer. I mean, you mentioned it a little bit, Gio, but the impact that Son Heung-min has had on LAFC, the impact that Muller is going to have on Vancouver, or already has had on Vancouver. I mean, Gordo, the impact that Bastian Schweinsteiger had on our team. I remember the vibe of the club in preseason, and it was like, okay, we can be competitive. Like, we think we can win some games. And then Basti shows up, and instantly everyone's like, I've got to be better in passing exercises. I've got to be better in rondos. I've got to be better taking care of my body, because he's around and he's watching and he's won the World Cup. And like, what is he going to think of our training methods? Like, it just, there's just like an instant impact that they have that's an unspoken. It's almost off the field just by their presence. And so I think it's cool to hear. I mean, you speak about that with even guys that came to the United States and kind of like set the path for that. That's
But
amazing.
It's a
Gio,
sense of responsibility.
yeah, Gio nailed it on the head. And I remember thinking this, when Beckham came to LA, I remember thinking it wasn't about anything else. I didn't care about what the fans thought about me. I didn't care about anything else, the coaches. I just wanted to feel that pure respect, the respect that I was worthy, a college kid, a raw college kid who was very raw. We didn't have that player who has done it at the highest level respected me, and you could feel it, right? And so I just remember going to training, like you said, you just want it to be so much better. I remember Beckham coming, and he's hitting balls that I wasn't used to, because they can see things quicker and they have the quality to do it. And my runs were so elementary almost, because that is what we did. We did things a certain way, and a lot of people don't have the ability to kick it. And then he would kind of wink at me like, hey, I see it, make that run. And they'll say certain things like, don't. I remember Beckham saying to me once, hey, when I get the ball right here, turn, spin out, and I will find you.
Yeah.
Don't wait for me. You go, and I'll find you on the back post. So every time he got it, I was like, okay, this is a new run for me. And I would do
Done.
it. And then there becomes that you're learning, they're teaching you. And it was so much fun.
The one time I'll never forget, and I used to hear him say it a few times, but he said it to me one time. Thierry Henry was like, "Hey, make the run, because I don't have to be looking at you to make the pass." And I just
Yes.
thought, and I'd seen him do it a few times before with other players, and he would get frustrated, and it was almost just like, don't worry, like, I see you, but I'm not looking at you because I'm trying to keep the back line off balance. And I just
Yeah.
remember thinking, like, we're talking about NBA. Like, I'm an NBA fan. This guy's like Jay Williams, dude. He's like doing no look passes in soccer.
Yeah.
It was something that, being raised here and playing here at a youth level, right? It just was something that I never fathomed. It was always like, all right, there's your target.
Yeah.
Good technique, pass it to your target. Like, these guys, they're just doing things at a level that is so much higher than what we were used to. It just raised up the level of the whole
And
team,
that's the
Gio.
thing. And that's the thing, Dax, because they already saw you.
Yeah, they
When
know where
you
you are.
think they know where you are, and then they have the quality technically to be efficient in order for them to be able to give you the ball as soon as they can. I also saw it when I was coaching your Cosmos, and I brought Marco Sena and Raul into the team. I just immediately, the level of quality of the practice went so much higher. It's
Yeah.
just because what we're talking about, these players bring a different sense, different level to the game that you need to make sure that, you raise to it. And
Yeah.
it's amazing that impact.
Gio, I'm glad you brought up your time with the Cosmos because I wanted to get into your coaching career, and it may be a twofold question, but what inspired you? What made you want to be a coach? And also, the New York Cosmos, forgive me if I'm wrong, but it was your first real big head coaching job, right? If I'm not mistaken, where it was visible. It's a big club, a lot of history. You just mentioned two massive players in Raul and Marco Senna that you were able to bring into the Cosmos. Can you just kind of walk us through your early days of your coaching career, why you wanted to be a coach, and then any good training stories that you have of those two guys?
Yes, so definitely, it was my first professional coaching job, the New York Cosmos. I was more in the youth first with the Red Bulls, MetroStars. I was youth director for a few years, and then I had the opportunity to be able to be with the New York Cosmos, and I had great experiences there. And one day in 2012, the owner came up to me and said, we're definitely gonna start professionally. We're thinking about you, and will you take it as the head job, of the team in the NASL? And I said, yes, I would, but as long as, I'm also the sporting director because I want to make sure that the project is done correctly. And if I'm going to be part from the beginning to the, build up of the club, I want to be, both positions. So I start with that, and I put a lot of thought into it first, and what made me become a coach. I think, yes, it's the love of the game, is the fact that you keeps you as close to the game as possible, right by the line. But I think one of the biggest things is to teach, to educate, to pass along, what I have learned to others, and maybe influence players to have a career, to enjoy, and to allow them to make it to their dreams. And can I, participate in that? And I found joy in seeing, players make it, score goals, win titles. And that also was one of the reasons why I wanted to participate in that project. I tried from the beginning to make it, as good as I could. So the first player that I hired was, Mendes, that, you play with.
Carlos Mendez,
Carlos, Carlos
great guy.
Mendes, and the reason was, besides, he being a very good defender, great guy, it was that the New York Cosmos at the beginning had Warner Rolf, number 4 center back captain, as the fair hire. So I looked for someone similar
Yeah,
for captain, center back, and that was my first signing. So I tried to keep the history in somehow, in that the history also, gave a narrative of how we're going to move forward. Then I have Freeman, then I have Marco Senna, then Raul, Juan Arango, Amauri, and so many,
some
I
great
can tell you,
players.
so many great players, American players, international players that make sense, in participated in that time. And I was so happy because I enjoy every minute, every practice, talking to the players. And then that equate to championships. We won our first time in 2013. We were champions. The
Yep,
14, we were third. The 15 champions, 16 champions, 17. We made it to the final again. We lost, unfortunately, but it was always, successful because of, I think, the players that we brought in, that they were so driven for the project, and that excited me as well. And I'm a coach that, I love to see, the players and the project be successful, and that fills me with excitement, and that's why I decided to become a coach.
love that.
Gio, I'm curious about, I remember those days and I remember hearing about the Cosmos. Cosmos is one of the most famous, iconic soccer names in North American soccer. I mean, in my opinion, in this country, right? Just from, the old NISL or whatever it was called. How did you get all those players to go to the Cosmos when they were a USL team? Was the MLS, were they promising you guys a berth in the MLS at some point? Is that what you were selling to those players? Like, how did that go down? And why do you think, do you have any knowledge of why the Cosmos never made it into the MLS?
Uh, so I always personally had a dream that I hope that the Cosmos could have made it to MLS because I knew the history of the New York Cosmos, and it was so vast and great, and I saw it being part of it. I met some of the ex-players that were so quality and incredible, between Pelé and Carlos Alberto. I mean, Beckenbauer came in, and it was so many players. And I always, in my love to Major League Soccer, I always hope that the match could have gotten together. But
Yeah.
even before I became the head coach of the professional team in 2011, I was part of the project, and the president was Cantona. And I had the pleasure to work with Eric Cantona at that time, and we got invited to be in the testimonial match of Paul Scholes. So we had to play against Manchester United in Old
My
Trafford.
favorite.
Yes.
My favorite. So jealous, Gio.
Tell me about this. Tell me about this experience, because
So we were like, we got to build a team. And I wasn't, I built up more of the American players that we brought in. And then we had someone that was participant already, an English person that was with us. He just started looking for players to build up that team that was going to compete. That it wasn't that difficult to convince players to play with the New York Cosmos because every single top player, Cannavaro, Vieira, Pires, I mean, Edward Yorks,
They heard of them.
yeah, they knew it actually
Yeah.
it was a dream for them to play.
Wow.
Cool.
And you heard the stories. And when we were in Manchester, we were there, all these players, all these ex-players, and you heard them talking about, wow, this was a team that I used to watch. My father talked about it. So it had history and they wanted to be part of it. So when I became the coach of the next step in the NASL, and I remember going to talk to Marco Sena, going to talk to Raul, to convince him about New York Cosmos. First, the history. Second, New York as a city is also, a big part of it. All these things were very important for me to be able to not to sell, but to show them the direction that we were taking, and if they wanted to be part of, they could come, and you'll be amazed about. I'm gonna tell you, Del Piero, these type of players wanted to come. Giraldino from Italy, and I can tell you so many Greeks, Korean, Japanese. We had a Japanese player coming in. I mean, they all knew the name. They all wanted to be part of. They all were convinced that it would be a great project, and it wasn't that difficult to sell it. It was just a little bit, the financial part wasn't as easy to convince them. But I'm glad that we were able to have so many great players coming in to participate at that second time of New York Cosmos.
Gio, one follow-up here. I mean, since it never happened, right? Since you guys never got to the MLS, was there a sense of pride that you guys were the best team in New York? Because
Okay. Here we go.
I think you and my buddy Dax may have run into each other a couple times in the Open Cup. I mean, can we settle this right now? Who is the better team?
Okay, so that's a great question.
I think that's a
because I'm gonna say
loaded question.
We never thought, or at least me, I never thought about, are we better than them?
Yeah.
Or better when New York City came in, which I hope that we would have been that team that made it.
Yeah.
And that was a situation in which I think, there's a story in there, but that's too long to talk about it. It could have been, and then New York City came into the map. But for me, it was more about, can we be respected? Can we, when we play them, Red Bull, which was my first club, New York City, when we play them, can they see our project and can they respect what we can offer? And can we make it very difficult for us
Right.
to be able to feel that, when they come to playoffs, they say, wow, this is not going to be an easy game. This is going to be a tough game. They done very well. So it was more about not saying who's better. Can we be respected by the two organizations that we still are a team, a very good, difficult team to play against, and that we all have a good project in mind and the direction is the right direction. And in that situation, we had in 2014 a great game against the Red Bull, which I'm very happy about.
I don't remember that game.
But we got
What
killed in
happened, Dax? Dax,
2015.
what happened?
I don't remember that game. Well, what I do remember is going to play the Cosmos in the Open Cup on their home turf, and I remember the atmosphere before the game. I'm not sure what had happened. I think I was nursing a little bit of an injury. You're gonna say maybe I was a little scared. I wasn't, but I didn't play in this game that Gio's referring to in 2014 where they bullied us, Gordo. They smacked us. I think it was 3-0, Gio, if I'm not mistaken, maybe 3-1. I can't remember for sure, but it was like, dude, the atmosphere was hostile. Like Gio's like, okay, we just wanted to earn respect. The players, I don't know what he said to them. They were aggressive. They were angry. They were kicking us all over the field. The fans were hostile. I mean, it was a proper derby. Like it
Yeah.
felt like a proper derby. I was sitting in the stands like I don't know, man. This is a little bit wild, and they were fantastic. They were excellent, and little rivalry there between Gio and his old teammate, Mr. Mike Petke, who I know Gio
Wow.
played with at the
Exactly.
at the MetroStars. But then I remember vividly when Jesse Marsh came in and he was coaching us in 2015.
Correct.
We got the
You guys
Cosmos
did better of
again.
us.
We
Yes.
got the Cosmos again in the Open Cup, and Jesse knew the history, and he was like, "You guys kind of got your asses kicked last year because we rotated and we had a mixture of reserves and starters playing, but they were just fully played us off the pitch." And Jesse goes, "That's not happening this time. We were playing at Red Bull Arena. We played our strongest team. This was when I believe Raul's first season,
Correct.
and dude, Gordo, we prepped like we were prepping for an MLS team, and
Yeah.
that's the ultimate
That's respect.
respect and
That is
compliment
respect.
I could pay to Gio because I remember a few guys that had been on the field for that game. They were like, "You can't take this team lightly. First of all, they have quality. They're well coached. They have Raul, massive difference maker. Marco Senna, massive difference maker. So we ended up getting the better of them in that game at Red Bull Arena. We won the game, and I just remember thinking that team was they played such good football and such good soccer. I remember after the game thinking, I really think Gio has the potential to end up in MLS someday. And that's in TV, what we call a great segue. Because Gio, I want to ask you about your time in Portland. First and foremost, our producer Sam, who you know very well, she was with you in Portland. She was very adamant about me asking you about your favorite restaurant in Portland and who introduced you to it.
Oh, she did. She did, of course, and it became not only I can't remember, it's an Italian place right now. It's slip out of me, but that was the place.
Piazza Italia.
Piazza Italia. So
There
that
you
was
go.
exactly that was the place, okay, Piazza Italia, that sometimes I will go the day before every game to make sure that we, as a, something that we always did to make sure that we won the next game. As a, this was the restaurant that we said, I have to go there every single time because I
Yeah.
know if I go there tomorrow, we're gonna win. So,
Yeah.
and the food was phenomenal. It was fantastic. Love the people that work there. You felt a little bit in Italy. You see all the jerseys around, of how many players have eaten there in the history. And Samantha introduced me to the place, and it was just, a perfect place to go eat.
They call that superstitious. That's superstition.
Superstition.
Yes, we all have them. We all have them. Um, you know, I wanted to tell me a little bit about your experience in Portland. As far as coaching, you won an MLS championship, correct?
MLS is back,
MLS back. Yes, we had
MLS is
two
but he
back.
made it to
finals.
two MLS Cup finals.
Yeah, I mean, so I played there my first year, and for somebody that never thought he was going to make it professional, it was unbelievable to me because we were in the USL, and our first game ever, we played the Seattle Sounders, and I got to start, and there was 10,000 people in the stadium, 10,000, and it was something that I never thought I would have experienced ever, and that was a very special moment for me. So I know, how just amazing that crowd is to have behind you. What was the I want to give me I want to know what was the toughest thing about coach going from such a successful stint in the Cosmos and going into the MLS. What was the biggest surprise about leveling up into MLS, and what was the biggest challenge there? We'll get into some highlights, but what was the biggest challenge for you?
Yeah, so first I thought that for me to move from the Cosmos, I needed to go to the right club in MLS, what I felt that was the potential for me to have success. And I felt once Portland called, I felt I had the opportunity maybe before, but I felt that this call was the right one for me to make the jump into Major League Soccer because of the organization. Alan, you mentioned the
Yeah.
fan base. Uh, I felt that they had a roster that was competitive still for me to be able to compete in Major League Soccer. And that, in my sense, I am one that feels it in the skin. Sometimes, it makes decisions with the feelings. And I felt it was the perfect club for me to start in Major League Soccer. And that's why I went there. I have coached, big players. So it wasn't about coaching big players and managing them. I felt, that I was ready for that. Uh, for me was, am I going to get the right amount of support from the,
Mhm.
the management side to make the difficult decisions, to make sure that we make, the right hires. And one of the things, that I would have wanted to have when I arrived, there were so many players that I was excited about going and coaching. It was that Nagby, that was the moment that he ended up leaving
Yeah.
Ah,
to go to Atlanta. And that was
that
a
can
player
change
that
a
I think
team.
could,
That can
yeah,
change a team. He's a player
yeah.
that can change a whole team, right?
That, he ended up being in the team that beat us in the final
Oh,
Yeah.
that season, and would have been a player that I think would have helped with the players that we had, maybe for us to achieve what we were looking for that year in the final. But I felt right away, that I connected with the players. I felt that there was a good vibe. Of course, a few different decisions at the beginning to change the captain band, from Liam to Diego Valeri was, I think, a difficult and important decision at the start of me coaching in Portland. But I love the fans, I love the city, I love them waiting in a line the day before, midnight, like ready with you know so many people. I remember times I will go with pizza and bring pizza because I was so excited seeing them, being ready. And one of the things for me, when I don't want them to disappoint them, I want to make
Yeah.
yeah.
sure that we're competitive every single game. And I had to make some changes tactically than the Cosmos. I think my Cosmos had a little bit more, of freedom in the way we played. I think I had to be more structured with Portland to have success with some of the players that we had in order for us to keep them together. So I had to change from 4-2-3-1 at the beginning when we play a few games to 4-3-2-1, Christmas tree, that I think made our players sacrifice a little bit more defensively sometimes. So I had to make some decisions to make it to get to finals and be more competitive. That I think risks some of my start in the Major League Soccer, but I felt like this way we can grow and win things. But for me, Portland was a great place. Love the place. My daughter is there now, working. So she went back into Portland, and it's just a place that forever is going to be in my heart with the fans and the club and all that. And I had
Uh,
a still great relationship with Merritt, as well that I always, wish them the best.
I have to say, Gio, during All Star Week, where I ran into you in the lobby, and by the way, guys, at All Star Week, you're looking at the mayor. Okay, this guy, there every single big name, every single important person in Major League Soccer stops what they're doing if they see Gio. They come up to him, they shake his hand, and that's just the type of guy he is. I saw Gio having a conversation with Merritt, and I just like I joined the conversation and like the things that were being I was just like blown away about being involved in like these types of conversations because we're talking about a coach in Gio Savarese who was essentially let go by this owner, Merritt Paulson in Portland, and yet Gio's such a classy guy. They still maintain the relationship. They still have a respect for each other. I think it takes a special personality to be able to maintain relationships like that, Gio. Anyways, that's just my way of saying how awed I was by your performance at the All-Star game. So, Gio, you've been out of coaching now for, I guess, what's going on maybe around 2 years now. And I get the pleasure of seeing you every day in a studio. You join us over on 360 for the Geo Hour, which is typically the hour where the teams score most of their goals. I don't know. It's maybe that striker voodoo that you have on most of these teams. Can you kind of just talk about how you're finding your role in media now as an analyst, maybe some of the differences, that because you look at it, I'm sure, from a coaching perspective, right? And when can we see Gio Savarese back on the sidelines? Because I know that's something you're really passionate about.
No, listen, I'm enjoying. I think we have an amazing group. You there all the time, and the English side, the Spanish side. I mean, it's such a great group of people that we enjoyed so many hours. I'm sure that if it wasn't that way because of that many hours so late at night, it wouldn't have been as easy. Because what makes it is just the group that we have, and for me, it's been a great pleasure. I'm enjoying it very much. And I done in the past, I was 11 years with ESPN during the time that was with New York Cosmos. I was doing both at the same time. I couldn't continue when I went to MLS, but now that I'm back, I'm enjoying it. But definitely coaching, competing, being in a locker room are still things that I right now feel in my veins, in my skin, and definitely something that I will want to continue to do. So when the right opportunity will come, definitely will be something that I want to be back again. If it's in Major League Soccer, we'll be happy because I love the league. If it's somewhere else, definitely open to it. But it's something still that is in my mind, and I feel that I have still a few years to want to do that. But in the meantime, continue to enjoy it. All of you, and especially Dax, you came in first year. It's like you've been here, 20 years. And
Thank you, pal.
it's been phenomenal.
Oh, thank you, man. I've really enjoyed it, honestly. It's a ton of fun. I hope that comes through on our shows, on our broadcasts. But Gio, you've been so gracious with your time. We're going to get you out of here on a fun one for me and Gordo, okay? I don't know if it's going to be so fun for you, but I want you to put your coaching hat on. We do something here occasionally with our guests on Journeymen, and we call it start, bench, cut, okay? So you got to put your coaching hat on. And I am going to put you on the hot seat as a coach. And you can take this in any direction that you want. It can be football related, it can be on the field, off the field, it can be any justification you want. But essentially, I'm going to give you three players that you either played with or coached. And you've got to decide who you're going to start, who you're going to bench, and who you're going to cut. You're out. Kind of like that segment we did where you put your starting 11 together, and Kevin Egan was on the bench. And that was a great segment. These are the tough decisions you're going to have to make here. So I'm going to give you two. One of them is going to be old school legends. Okay, start, bench, cut. Donadoni, Raul, Marco Senna.
Oh my God.
Oh no. Oh no.
Oh my God.
And whoever you cut, we're going to get their email and we're going to send them this video. Okay.
Um, so we'll say play Raul.
Okay. Start Raul.
Uh, okay. This one is a tough. So we'll put Senna on the bench, and I'm gonna cut Donadoni. And
Wow.
and the
Okay.
only reason is because I think he would understand more why I can have
He was
a
calmer.
conversation, but this, I mean, you're talking about three guys
Of course.
that I enjoy watching play. And I think if I had the three of them together, oh my God. I
You
mean,
never lose.
Big things.
I
Big
never couldn't
And
lose. But I
and
think
Gio,
Donadoni, he would understand me. We go eat and figure something out.
you'd cut him and you'd go buy him a bottle of wine. You guys would make your pasta together. You'd be
Yeah.
good.
Exactly.
That'd be unbelievable. Okay, so they're not supposed to be easy, okay? So that's why I'm trying to wreck your head. All right, last one. This one's fully Portland Timbers related. And I've got two that I know you're going to struggle with. And I was like, it's hard to come up with a third in terms of guys that you coached at Portland. So I'm throwing a random one in there, and I want to see how you take it. All right, start, bench, cut, Portland Timbers version. Diego Valeri, Diego Chara, Timber Joey.
Oh, of course. I need my players.
Okay.
I need my players.
Sorry, Timber Joey. It's either
cut,
start or bench. Yeah.
And he would understand why I cut him because he cuts all the time.
Yeah. Okay. He cuts the logs. Okay.
So he understands the meaning of cut.
He's out.
So he's out right away. Oof. Diego Chara Valeri. This is difficult.
I know.
They're very important. They're very good. Both captain, both essential. Oh, I don't know. That's tough. You're putting me in a very difficult situation.
Hey, listen, this is what Journeyman is, my friend.
So I will say, so when I was leaving, then I have to do it. I left Valeria a few times on the bench, so I will leave Valeria on the bench.
Okay.
And Chara, on the field just because of the last part of it. But it's basically impossible.
It's 1A and 1B. Yeah.
Both on the field will make you win. And they're quality, both of them.
Gio, I don't think Valeri is going to be too worried about that. You did him a solid favor. I think he got something much more valuable from you in terms of how he's living now in Portland.
Of course. Yeah, definitely. And I'm happy that he's enjoying, where he's at the moment, because we loved it. And, and I think he deserves to be there.
I love it, man. I love it. Gio Savarese, you are class personified, my friend. The Journeyman, we have had a great episode. Our listeners are going to be better for having you on. We really appreciate everything, man. And for those of you who speak fluent Spanish, who might follow the Journeyman, make sure you turn into Gio on MLS Countdown in Spanish, MLS 360. Gio, you're as classy as they come, my friend. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you very much, Dax. A pleasure to be with you, to get to know you more. You're fantastic. Alan, great to see you again.
My pleasure, my friend.
It's amazing. And Samantha, finally I see you again. So
I'm not allowed to talk on here.
Miss you.
Of course she's allowed to talk.
Least amount of talking you've ever heard from me, right?
No, our talks were great. So I enjoyed it very much. So thank you for the invite and, all the best in the show.
Cheers, Gio.
Thank you,
my friend. Journeyman, we'll see you next week.
Take care. See you. Thank you.